When growth feels heavy, when clarity feels distant, when leaders search for steady ground, this is where the climb begins. In the pressure of scale, in the weight of demand, when systems crack under leadership's hand, they don't bring noise, they don't bring fear, they bring order, truth, and a path that's clear.
From chaos to clarity, from fire to flow, they build what lasts, so leaders grow.
Not chasing trends, not selling dreams, but shaping strength through discipline means. It's not more speed, it's not more grind, it's knowing exactly what to fix in time. It's guiding the climb, turning complexity into command. Built on precision, systems that scale, led by design. From confusion to clarity, from pressure to power, OpsSherpa stands for this moment, this hour. Behind every structure that finally holds are minds that have walked through the cold, hands that have built, tested, refined, so others don't fail, but rise in time.
They lead with people, truth and care, metrics that matter, momentum that's fair.
No shortcuts taken, no ego shown, just quiet essence, fully grown. Because real leadership doesn't shout, it shows the way when doubt runs out. It's
Guiding the climb, from fire fighting into flow. Architects of order, so leaders finally know
what to build, what to leave, what to fix, what to free. And behind this mission stand the architects.
And behind this mission stand the architects,
Turning teams into aligned energy.
turning teams into aligned energy,
Turning teams into aligned energy. This is not theory, this is experience. This is OpsSherpa. This hour,
guiding the climb with steady hands and fearless minds.
these extraordinary minds to the global stage.
A voice for leaders, a platform for brilliance, a stage where the best are revealed.
A voice for leaders, a platform for brilliance, a stage where the best are revealed.
Conversation is not about trends. It's not about hacks. And it's definitely not about noise. Today is about clarity. At SHAQ Podcast, we are extremely intentional about who we bring to this stage. We don't chase popularity, we curate substance. We look for leaders and companies that are quietly doing the hard work that most people don't see, but everyone feels. And the company we are unveiling today fits the standard perfectly. There is a moment in every growing business where things start to feel heavy. You are busy, your team is working hard, revenue might even be growing, but somehow clarity is slipping. Decisions take longer, fires pop up everywhere, and leadership starts carrying weight it never signed up for. That that is exactly that is exactly where Ops Sherpa comes in. Ops Sherpa existed to guide leaders through operational complexity, to replace chaos with calm and clarity, firefighting with focus, and confusion with systems that actually work. This is not a theory. This is a lived experience built into disciplined execution. And behind Ops Sherpa are two remarkable minds who balance something very rare: deep operational precision and human centered leadership. Please join me in welcoming Kevin Gaylord and Darin Lease, the founders of Ops Sherpa. Gentlemen, welcome to the SHAQ Podcast. It's an honor to have you here. How are you today?
Fantastic, Shaq. Glad to be here again, and first time for Darren.
Yeah, great to be here, Shaq. Thanks for doing this, and thanks for all the other things you do. We appreciate your leadership in this space.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Before we dive in, quick check with the audience. Just let us know if you're able to hear us all right. And drop a like in the comments if your business feels busy but not effective. And drop a comment if you are actively working on improving operations. So, you know, just let us know where you are tuning in from, which part of the world, which country, which city, and also know if we are audible or not. And if you've got any questions regarding Ops Sherpa, just put them across to me, and I'm going to, uh, you know, uh, uh, ask Kevin about those questions. And Kevin and Darren, they would be happy to answer all your doubts, all your questions live on this show. So before we move any further, as always, Kevin, how's the weather outside, and what's up? What's going on? Is it snowing?
So we are in North Carolina, and this we had last week we had an ice storm, and then this past weekend we had 7.5 inches of snow on top of that. This is for where we live anyway, this is not it's unusual. So it is not snowing today. I think it's not above freezing. We hope to see it get up to maybe 40 degrees, so some of that will melt today. But the sun is shining. It's a pretty day outside. So
yeah, roads are good. I was able to make my way here.
Yep, there you go. We're talking to you from my house. Darren came over, so yeah.
That's great. And to everyone who is watching me live or who is going to watch the recording, I am in India, Hyderabad, south of India, and the weather is very pleasant here. So I'm very happy.
That's fantastic. Way better, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we proceed any further, just wanted to let everyone know that we have completed 5,000 followers on LinkedIn and overall 12.5 million views on all my social media platforms combined. So thank you so much for your continued support. And this is, I'm telling it from my heart, Linnea Johnston and Kevin Gaylord were few persons who gave me a chance when I had just started out last year. And Kevin has been giving me, he has been a tremendous pillar of support for the SHAQ podcast. Thank you so much, Kevin. And I'm looking forward to, to grow with you, to grow with OpsSherpa, and continue this conversation in the future as well. So let's get into what we are here to discuss. So let's dive in quickly. So before I start the questions, Kevin, I would want to know from you and also from Darren, what was the main purpose of starting this company, and what is OpsSherpa all about? And just give me a quick overview of this company.
Sure. There's a lot of different ways to answer that question, but Darren and I had the opportunity to work alongside each other for the better part of a decade in executive positions with a niche organization that just touched a ton of different things from customer interaction, client relationships, vendor management, CRM. Well, we'll talk about that more later. Fintech, and ultimately SaaS. So we really kind of ran the gamut in the SMB, small mid-sized business space. And one of the things that we came to realize through that, again, almost 10 years, other than the fact that we work very well together, we both kind of kept saying, we love to fix things, right? We love to identify opportunities and improve them for businesses. We actually did that with a lot of clients that we worked with over the years, and we're doing it for free. And we're still doing a lot of this for free, and we don't mind because we enjoy doing it. So that's kind of what started us down this road. Darren, you want to?
Yeah, absolutely. I would just echo the fact that we're problem solvers at heart, and I think one of the easiest things to do in business is identify problems. One of the hardest things to do is to come up with effective solutions, and we've had a lot of practice at the things you need to do to arrive there. We're good planners, which is part of that equation, not just to fix a tactical problem or overcome a single obstacle, but also to think strategically and say, how does this play into the larger success or the larger opportunities that are available for an organization when it comes to operational effectiveness?
Yeah, well said.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, that's great. Before I start my first question, Kevin, you and me, we both have been into, we both have been on the SHAQ podcast before, and you have explained each and every thing about operations, about how business run, about multi-million-dollar deals. Kevin, I want to start the question with this. The question number one, based on our interactions before, the question is, what problem were you seeing repeatedly in small and mid-sized businesses that led you to start OpsSherpa?
Oh yeah. All right. So, Darren, you keep me in check. So let me get too far down this rabbit hole. I do that.
We'll keep it tight.
But this is the exciting stuff. So we were just before joining you today. Darren and I were actually talking about this, and I would say that you're probably going to probably repeat this a few times today. But all SMBs have these tipping points, right? And you could probably put a dollar amount on them where you might say it's 10 or 20 or 30 million top line, 50 million top line. But wherever they are, there's these tipping points where you go from sort of founder-led and managed, small team, everybody does everything, to being completely overwhelmed and seeing breakage within an organization, and then having to go through this sort of painful transition into introducing new players into the business and expanding and growing, and it changes the corporate culture. And then there's another level of that hits when you get about twice as large, where now the systems, which you probably picked up at a piece here and a piece there and stitched them together over the years, now they don't work well enough to meet your goals. And so you go through another transition period that is very uncomfortable and unfortunately very expensive. Some of these transitions, I don't have the data on this, but I will get it for you, SHAQ, and share it later. But I would argue that some of these transitions relate to businesses failing entirely and closing. I would think the number is unfortunately larger than you might realize. We have been in this space for so long that we've witnessed it, we've been within it, we've helped fix it, we've survived it and gone through it. And what we've kind of landed on is, sure, not only do we understand it and see it objectively and understand how to move beyond it, but one of the big learnings, and this is so important, and this is probably the single most important thing that we'll even say today, is everything that an SMB or any organization does must be done and implemented with intentionality and sustainability. So very, very, very often, small, mid-sized businesses, they tend to, you're so caught up in firefighting, in this reactionary position, that you Band-Aid fix problems, right? So it's the kid with the finger in the dam thing, right? You fix this problem, we gotta do this, we'll just kind of do that. And then all of a sudden, this becomes permanent. You sort of forget about it. Well, that's not resolved, and eventually, that's going to be a very big and a very expensive fix. And when you're talking about dozens of these types of scenarios compounding, unfortunately, these things can actually end a business. Which, again, we've seen even with large organizations, this very thing sort of destroy them. So we both agree that there has to be a very, very strong, intentional, sustainable, clear foundation from a staffing standpoint, from a culture standpoint, from a technology standpoint, and of course a customer or client experience standpoint. What Darren and I like to do, what we enjoy doing, is mapping that and then getting our hands dirty and actually creating it. So let me turn it over to Darren, because it's a very good question.
Yeah. Absolutely, and I would echo the map part of it. We like to designing and building that blueprint, and we're here operating in this space now as our own business, trying to help folks not just provide that blueprint, or that map, but get more involved if you want us to get more involved in terms of the actual systems design and how we put things together. If using the Sherpa metaphor, that would be providing you the gear, not just showing you the way from a map, all the way up to giving fractional COO, CIO, CTO support if you want us to help guide and provide more leadership along the way. So we have a number of different levels of engagement, but it all starts with the basics, which is looking at a business and helping a business find that map and that blueprint to overcome these obstacles that constantly arise when you're trying to grow.
Yeah, that's it. We'll circle back to that one too. We're going to spend more
absolutely.
time talking about that. That's the methodology for how we help out.
I had, out of curiosity, I have a question. First of all, thank you so much for explaining that in detail. I got all the points. I understood everything. Now, speaking from money point of view, I wanted to ask you, by not companies, by not applying the correct operational strategy, what is the number? How much money are these companies losing because of not a proper structure, or should I say a proper strategy in place for them? So can we speak, can we also talk on the money part? How much money are they losing every year?
Yeah. So obviously that's going to depend on the business. So there's not going to be one number that we can put on it, but I would argue, depending on where the sort of proximity of business is to a tipping point or a growth inflection point, is going to determine how much money they are losing or potentially losing. Which I want to say, and this is really an interesting thing, it's very muddy, because often, specifically when we're talking about staffing challenges. So if you are a smaller mid-sized business and you're a founder-led organization, so you've got this embedded CEO owner, and you've probably got some managers and doers in your organization, but you don't have a chief operating officer, you don't have a chief technology officer or chief information officer. You may or may not even have a CFO, right? You may outsource that, or have an accountant doing that, or be doing it through QuickBooks or whatever. So you look at, wow, so I'm the founder, and I'm spending my time growing my business from a marketing standpoint. Right, that's the other one, a chief marketing officer. I'm doing the marketing, I'm doing the sales, I'm doing the finance, I'm doing the operations. But what do I need to be doing? Well, I need to be the face of this company. I need to go out there and continue to grow it, or I need to manage the relationships with the clients that I have grown it with, whatever it may be. But I'm overwhelmed. I'm working 20 hours a day on this. I'm killing myself. What do I need? Well, I need a COO or a CTO, right? For example, those are a couple of obvious ones. So let me just say the COO one. I need a chief operating officer, because I need to wash my hands of managing the day-to-day operations at this point, so I can actually go to, growing the business and managing the growth. Oh, wow, a COO is north of $200,000 a year, in some cases quite a bit north of that. So when we start factoring in benefits and so on, it might be $250,000 or $300,000 a year. Well, that's going to wipe me out. So I can't do that. That's the logic. I'm describing that sort of inflection point. Well, I can't do that. That's going to eat up every penny of profit I have. I can't possibly afford that, right? What is it actually costing you, though, right? Because every day that goes by that founder is not growing and managing their business, or managing the growth that they've received, what are they doing? They're losing potential. Or possibly weakening new relationships, or losing new relationships. Those things very easily translate to numbers far in excess of $200,000 or $300,000. What gets lost along the way in that, of course, is a fractionalized solution, which I think we're going to talk about a little later, so I don't want to go down that road. So, how do we quantify those losses? It's interesting, because it gets very hard to see. We attempt to do that for SMBs. And provide, this sort of observational, hey, over the next 5 years unchanged, here's what the potential losses look like. But it gets very complicated, because it's what we're describing is a bit esoteric. it's sort of understood. It's a lot easier to go back and say, hey, 5 years ago, what did we lose by not implementing a meaningful ERP instead of running it on a spreadsheet? Yes. What did we lose by not having a marketing person, and so on and so forth? Darren.
I was just going to say it's an opportunity cost.
Yes.
And one of the things we really look at is our analysis is going to be data driven, right? So we're going to be looking at the quality of data in business, the analytics, the dashboards, the reports that you have currently. And, honestly, other than the P&L, right, that's how you really measure the financial impact on an organization. In fact, it should be feeding the P&L. And if you don't have good data quality, if you're not asking the right questions in terms of how you need to grow your business, where you can optimize and achieve efficiencies, then that's where you're going to be bleeding as well, right? And the scale of that can be from an optimization level where you're talking 10, 20, 30% to an order of magnitude where you're actually hemorrhaging a large part of your potential profits because you're not seeing things correctly.
Yeah. Then that gets into some things, we can talk about the sort of challenges of founder-led businesses and, the emotional attachment and, well, hey, I'm doing so much better now than I was 2 years ago, so it must be fine, versus somebody objectively that's not tied into a business being able to say, okay, yeah, absolutely, you're doing fine. You're missing $8 million a year in potential, and you're costing yourself an extra $400,000 a year in poor systems design, but yeah, you're doing great. So there is that. There's always a fantastic time to have an outside, completely unbiased source take a look and help you kind of gauge the where your business is at.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, that's great. Thanks so much for explaining that in detail. Darren, what do you think the number one reason companies fail? Is it not having an operational strategy, or do you think are there any other reasons? But what is the number one reasons companies fail? They, they go through a merger, so things like that. Could you just put some light on that as well?
Absolutely, SHAQ. So from my perspective, it's coming from Kevin and I working together, but also 15 years of executive experience focused in IT, right? But also on operational issues. You kind of led with it, which is it is an ineffective or an incomplete operational strategy that's looking far enough forward. But I'll come back to the data side of things because in my world, it's evolved from what we used to think of in IT and technology. I'm not going to go that far back and date myself, but for a long time, it's always been about the data, stupid. And what we mean by that is multifaceted. And I got into the argument a little bit earlier, but so if a business is going to fail, it's because they could be making wrong decisions based on the data. They could be asking the wrong questions because they don't have good visibility into their data. So it all starts with what data are you collecting? What do you think your most important KPIs or guardrails or determining factors are for how you grow and operate your business? But it comes back to that data, and is it reliable, right? Is it clean? Is it something that you can make decisions based on by surfacing in a dashboard? And a dashboard can add a whole nother layer to things. But the core idea is if you don't have good data, that's the first thing you need to do as a business from my perspective. There are other points to it, many other points, right? To an overall operational strategy. There are many other points where it can fail, but I think this is one of the biggest ones. And so, like I said, one of our focuses is to look at the data of a small to mid-sized business, assess what condition it's in, how scalable is it, How secure is it, right? And how can we surface that data to, which is part of what we do, when we get deeper into our analysis of things is helping businesses arrive at, based on their input, what are the most important questions you're trying to solve or trying to answer that are going to drive, not just your efficiency, but your growth, your bottom line, right?
Yeah, I'd love to just tack on to that I think a component of the rationale or the reason that you see these failures in general, just a component, not everything, but a meaningful one, is true understanding of what your goals are. So if you're sort of ahead of that first inflection point that we've been describing, very likely your goals are just to break even and make enough money to survive another year, right? And that rolls through that next inflection point to that mentality sort of staying the same. Well, I just want to make as much as I can, and there is a point where you have to have intentionality in what is it that I'm actually trying to accomplish, and really try to quantify that in a meaningful way, more than just I'm trying to just grow the business. Well, let's not be so amorphous. Let's get really down to
there's a why to how much money is being made, and there's also a why to how much money is not being made, or profits trailing off, or whatever. And it's important to get to the bottom of that, or you're not focusing with full visibility, with eyes open to potential.
Well, then there's a whole layer of SHAQ that you and I have talked about many times, and this is a hot button for me, which is in the open, transparent communication of that to every level of your team, and getting everybody actually rowing in the same direction, not just executing tasks. It's so much more than that, especially in SMBs. If you are a $100 billion organization, then maybe the best way to continue your business is to just functionally have people execute, much like ants or worker bees, execute their piece. That's going to move the needle enough. But in an SMB where every dollar counts, you've really got to have everybody on board and engaged. And corporate culture, communication, and leadership, things that are so quickly avoided or ignored because they don't appear as immediate value, right? They appear as this sort of nice to haves, but it's not on fire. Absolutely not. It's always on fire. You have to build that right from day one, or you're not going to be positioned to get through that inflection point and to get to the next level.
Exactly. Yes, Kevin. We've been talking about the mergers. We've been talking about companies getting bought out. I still remember the conversations we had, and it's all gonna go, live on Spotify and YouTube in the coming days. But we've been talking about these mergers, and we've been talking about the companies which are getting bought out. And I had that question from a very long time. Thank you so much for explaining that in detail. And thank you so much, Darren, for adding your perspective as well. People seeing me, organizations are seeing me. If you've got any questions, CEOs, CFOs, if you've got any questions regarding your business, your company, do get in touch with Kevin ASAP. That is the need of the hour. OpsSherpa, this company is the need of the hour. If you want to, if you want your strategy improved, and you want clarity in your business, get in touch with Kevin, get in touch with Darren. And Kevin is available on all the weekdays, strictly in the morning hours, I think. But you can send him a message and he can reply you back as soon as he is available. I know he is a very busy person, but he would get back to you on every question you have. So get in touch with Kevin and Darren as well. I'm going to put the company's website, Kevin's profile, and Darren's profile in the comments after this session. So, it would be easier for you guys to speak to them whenever you have some doubts about your business. Speaking of which, Kevin, let's move on to the next question. But before that, I just want to let my audience know that this is a vast subject. There will be more discussions coming on the SHAQ podcast regarding the company, OpsSherpa, and with its founders, both of them. If say if I get if I am fortunate enough, I would be able to request one more session or two more sessions on the same topic. This is a vast subject, so always stay tuned to the SHAQ podcast, because I bring the brightest minds who are bringing real change to organizations, businesses, and real change to the world. So moving on with the next question, Kevin, which I have for you, which I have noted down here. So the next question for both Kevin and Darren would be, question number 2. The name itself is very powerful, OpsSherpa. Why the name OpsSherpa, and what does that metaphor actually represent in practice for your clients?
You want me to take it?
Yeah, go for it.
So Darren and I, we have talked about this for a while. We have another sort of think tank group that's not incorporated that we do. And from there, this sort of emerged. And when we described it, I said, you know what, we love to whiteboard things. We go to a whiteboard and just go figure out the world. And we said, what should we, if we were going to do this, what should we call it? And we sort of started throwing up, well, what would we be doing? How are we adding value? What makes us unique? And as we went through that, we said, we started to see common terms popping up that, well, it's guiding, and it's supporting, and it's creating a map and a roadmap, and it's gearing up for. And we started looking at these things, and it really became obvious we're really being a Sherpa, right? We're really the driving force behind the scenes that's not there for any recognition, right? We're there to help it. And I'm going to have Darren in a minute share our mission statement that we put together. But as we did that, originally, Darren was still involved in another opportunity, and he was working on a class at MIT, which he'll also tell you about in a second. And so I got a little excited and said, well, let me throw something together. And so I said, well, Sherpa doesn't quite get it done. Plus the name was taken. So I was like, oh, well, I'm an ops guy. I'm an operations guy. So OpsSherpa. It just made sense. And then, so I went ahead and incorporated the business, got it started. And then Darren, as he wrapped up his other couple of loose ends, as well as the MIT program, he came in and was ultimately the co-founder of the organization. And we behind the scenes have said, well, so you kind of have sort of OpsSherpa and sort of data Sherpa or BI Sherpa, and we have another guy that we work with for cybersecurity. So you sort of have the security Sherpa, and then we have another guy that we work with for sales and marketing. So he's sort of the sales marketing Sherpa. So it lends itself to what we do. So that's sort of where that comes from. But Darren, if you wouldn't mind, I'd love for you to talk just a little bit about the MIT program, as well as the maybe start with the mission statement.
The mission statement, yeah, sure. So let's open with that, right? So our mission statement at OpsSherpa is: every system we build, every efficiency we unlock, every metric we track is geared for the journey, carefully chosen to support the people who carry your business forward. We guide the expedition, but it's your team that reaches the summit.
That's the Sherpa way.
That is the Sherpa way. And
Awesome.
that's what we're about,
Awesome.
is to come aside as guides and partners to help you overcome those obstacles and get to that summit of where you want to be and how you want to grow as a business. We'll talk about the AIT course at MIT, which was an eye-opening thing for me. I've been in IT for, like I said earlier, 15 years, and actually founded a data science department involving machine learning, everything in a former business. But the course is great because not only was it theoretical, but it was also practical in terms of understanding how to build use cases for AI. What is the impact currently of agentic AI and how rapidly that's growing? I mean, you're in old IT parlance, you had a technology changeover about every 18 months. What's happening with AI now is it's every 2 to 4 months. And what we measure that by is how long AI can continue to stay engaged in operation as an agent or a series of agents working together. And we're now up to like well over an hour. And that's really the level of scalability that it's just going to continue to make a large difference moving forward. But it was also about, how do you evaluate the effectiveness of models that you want to develop and agents that you're going to combine together, because most AI systems now are agents calling agents using model context protocol. So we used to think of distributed systems talking to each other in the cloud over APIs, right? So now it's a similar thing, but we're actually having AI agents that are learning and thinking for themselves and communicating with each other over that cloud to accomplish tasks. And it's a great new world. I think it's a little intimidating, maybe especially so for small to mid-sized businesses. And that's one of the things we're absolutely going to advise on. I will tell you that culture and people, and you'll hear that, I think you may have heard that echo so far. It's going to continue to echo in what we're about as an organization. It's helping that team reach a summit. A small to mid-sized business, largest asset is people, and of course their biggest fear is, or whether it's a founder or an individual employee in that organization as part of that team, is, am I going to be replaced by AI? And the short answer is no. Right? Because especially at small to mid-sized business level, the value to an organization is that experience that you've got that's specific to your industry.
It's enhancing.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. I'm sorry. I get excited. I mean, Darren, if for any business representative, business owners out there that may see this, if you want to get technical and you want to understand how to incorporate AI in your business, or understand the BI or the data structure of your organization, where you should go, where you should be, what you should be doing, any of that stuff, and you want to get real technical, Darren, I'm so fortunate to be such great friends and working with this guy, because, well, I don't think it's a step too far to say he is a genius.
You embarrass me a little, but I will say I can nerd out with the best of them, but at our core as a business, as OpsSherpa, providing that roadmap and coming alongside and doing what we do, being good communicators is one of the most effective parts about what we do, right? We can explain things in a way that you can we can go however deep you want to go, but we can explain things in a way that you can understand.
We're going to tie it together practically and simply, and we're going to tie it to, again, a true understanding of what your business goal is. And step one is making sure that that's clear.
Yeah.
I would like to, SHAQ, just take a second and dovetail with what Darren was saying. Is go back to saying that Darren and I love to whiteboard problems. and we go up and just we blow something up and then we simplify. And in the development of this particular company, one of the things that we put up there was, there are thousands of business consultants out there. What's unique about us? Well, we do have a different approach. When we look across the landscape of SMB consultants, they're very, 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 very thick. And I was going to say right out of the gate, I would say 65% of them are, hey, we can plug AI in your business, right? Because it's a buzzword. Well, I see that as part of that Band-Aid fix. You're just saying, we can do something. We give you something. We can give you an answer to one thing. And another big chunk will say, we can help you make more money, or we can fix a specific aspect of your organization, so on. And so when Darren and I got really deep into it, what we realized, it was very funny the way, I wish I had taken a picture of it. As we're sort of mapping out our philosophies on this whiteboard in my office, I got this 8-foot whiteboard, and so we just filled every square inch of it. And what we ended up with is something, when you sort of step back and looked at it, that looked like a bullseye, right? And at the center of this bullseye was corporate culture and people. And as you stepped out, you started to hit the systems, the finance, the customer journey model, the training mechanisms, communication, and so on. And so we had, I think it was 10 layers all around this center of your team, your actual people, and your corporate culture within that. And at some point, we sort of started drawing arrows in and say, well, okay, well, this system supports the team. This system supports the culture. This system supports communication, which supports the team, which supports culture. And so we have all these arrows pointing in, and then we said, okay, so what do you get out of it? Well, all of this translates to arrows coming out that say sustained long-term revenue growth, with emphasis on the word sustained, right? Sustainable model. And that's really, I think, as near as I can tell, that's a unique placement in the world of SMB consulting, because we are not looking at, well, hey, you might be able to cut this person out and save a few dollars here, or hey, let me sell you on this system that I have a relationship with. That's easy. Instead, we're looking at, of these roughly 10 key tenets in an organization, how do they empower and grow and develop the quality of the team that utilizes those, so that you are positioned for long-term sustainable growth? This is the model that we believe in. Not just, yeah, is it tried and true? Sure. But we firmly, and SHAQ, you know me, we spend a lot of time on these. This is what drives me. This is what gets me up in the morning. And Darren is exactly the same. He's just coming at it more from the system side. So I really can't emphasize this enough.
I was just going to say, coming as a technologist, technology is still about the people. It's about empowering the people. That's it. And with small and mid-sized businesses, especially, your people are your greatest asset.
Yes.
And we're here to, enhance and improve, their ability to contribute to business.
Yes. So in large business, in enterprise level business, I know, SHAQ, this past week or two, you've been talking a lot about the Amazon layoffs, which I understand are only halfway done. Now they're going to do another 15 or 16,000 layoffs, concurrently with Bezos paying $70 million for a documentary, which I don't want to make this political, so we're not going to do that. But, with SMBs, that you're really not having that. With SMBs, the problem is you're looking at, hey, can I get away with letting this one person go to save a few dollars? Or let's not rehire that position. This is the most common thing, right? Somebody left, let's divide their work up to other people, and then we just don't rehire. And now everybody else is doing 30% more work, but hey, it's getting done, so let's not rehire. Those decisions in the immediate present, in the short term, seem great because, wow, look at the money. I'm not spending $100,000 a year on that position. What are you doing? You're destroying your team slowly and consistently. That actually example might be the single biggest contributor to failure in SMBs. If I was going to pick just one sort of nail in the coffin.
Chipping away at your talent and damaging your culture by trying to cut corners instead of finding better ways to do it.
We're going to plug some AI solution in there. Well, this makes your workload 15% less or 20% less, so we're not going to give you extra resources elsewhere because we're just going to take those gains. That is not how you grow a business. That is how you stay afloat in the worst of worst times, and you better pull out of that very quickly. And the only way sometimes for people to see that, as I keep saying, is for an outside group to take a peek and just say, hey, heads up. This is where your opportunity costs. This is where your potential cracks and fissures towards failure are today, and what you need to do to pull away from that. So it was a long answer, SHAQ. I'm sorry, but we get excited about this stuff.
Absolutely.
No. I'm enjoying this. I'm getting to learn so many new things. I'm taking notes as well. See this. So, that's the bright side of being on the SHAQ podcast. I get to learn many things as well. So, anyhow, my question, say you've already answered this. Out of curiosity, there are 2 questions which I have written down here. And these are not from the list of questions which I'm going to ask you. We've just completed 2 questions and it's already 46 minutes. I would apologize to both of you gentlemen, if I over 1 hour. If I'm going over 1 hour, because at least we need to at least complete the introduction about the company. We can get into the deep details in our upcoming episode if I get a chance. Will I?
That's good.
Okay. I'm keeping my fingers crossed, and I'm going to reach out to Mr. Kevin Gaylord for more discussions on this. But before we proceed further, see, my question is, the first part of the question would be for Darren. The second part would be for Kevin. So the question is, because Darren has spoken about MIT. So Darren, we have already spoken about this, but in detail, I just wanted to ask how AI is changing the landscape of businesses right now. This is a question for Darren. And the second part, the second part of the question, how OpsSherpa is bringing real change, implementing AI or helping businesses with AI, how OpsSherpa is helping businesses with AI. The second part is for Kevin.
So
Sure.
I'm going to let you go with that. I've got to
Yeah.
excuse myself for 1 minute.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go
Go
right
for
ahead.
it.
Thanks.
We'll see if I can cover for that. No problem. So, Shad, what I would say to start off with is, and this is kind of common sense, if you follow the development of AI and its positioning in businesses, it's an unavoidable thing, right? But it's also a good thing. The reason it's unavoidable is because, especially from an operational standpoint, is the ability to achieve, anytime you're talking about automation, right? So go back 15 years as an IT executive, and before that being involved in IT as a programmer and an analyst, fundamentally you're trying to automate. I'm speaking that for IT here, right? The whole idea is you're trying to automate yourself out of a job. Of course, you'll never get there because of changes in technology and the need for maintenance and the need for new programs and everything else. But AI fundamentally is an extension of that automation. It's just far more efficient because you're talking about a a program now or an agent that's leveraging vast, large language models and other machine learning things, deep learning, to be able to function like a human, not as good as a human, right? But like a human at scale, right? So it's giving you the benefit of lots of people doing things, but it's still not individually as good as an individual human or an individual expert. So that's what makes it unavoidable. But one of the ways it's transforming, or its biggest transformation in business, I would say, is actually on the IT side of things, where IT is, but it's going to be every other part of the business. It's starting, we see it in marketing, we see it in HR, where you can now use and leverage AI as a tool to be far more effective at doing certain tasks, right? And so this is why one of the things is junior programmers coming out of college, right? They're having a hard time getting a job now because AI can perform some of those coding tasks fairly reliable up to a certain level, right? You still need more senior engineers, people with more experience, to make sure that code is correct and not causing problems. But it's one example of how you can optimize things at a certain level when it comes to HR, right? And this allows you to see both the pluses and minuses of AI. AI is now allowing HR teams to onboard new employees far more efficiently and take care of all these internal processes that may have required larger teams or greater time sinks and everything. But at the same time, you look at how AI governs resume submission and resume review, and fully automating with that with AI actually results in probably excluding a lot of qualified candidates, right? So it's transforming the industry by automating things on a scale that was not possible a few years, and it keeps getting better, but it's far from perfect. One of the analogies that I like to use is and anybody who's worked with ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or an AI agent that they use in their own life, personal lives or business life, is familiar with it. It's like having a PhD at your side at any point to help you with something. But at the same time, you also have to realize that PhD has its own fallibilities that are even greater than human fallibilities, where it could be PhD qualified on 90% of the material. It's very apt to get like one critical thing that could result in failure wrong. And so it's just the nature of AI and the models that are operating. So I may be getting too far into the weeds here, but the general theme is it comes back to a level of automation that can greatly enhance business more than we've ever been able to accomplish in IT. But people are still a key part of that. And the last thing I like to say is in IT and engineering, the other change that's going along with it is developers now. There's a model where you have developers and coders who produce the software, right? And that still happens. But at the same time, the individual business users, the subject matter experts, and this comes back to people in the equation, they're actually now becoming part of engineering teams and an invaluable part of engineering teams, because with AI being able to do some of the basics in terms of coding and everything, it's that knowledge of your small business, your mid-sized business, your area within that is specific to the kind of product that you produce or the customer base that you're serving. You can have far greater impact as a subject matter expert, as a knowledge worker, as part of one of these teams that develops an AI application, and to be able to scale and deploy that happens a lot faster because of it. So we've touched on a lot, but that's what I see how it's impacting business right now.
Okay. Just to add, Kevin knows about my history. I used to work with Unisys Global Services, and we used to work on, and my team used to work on the F-16 radar system. Well, anyways, that was into tech support. As you've said, automation was already there from a very long time. AI is just, uh, you know, super speeding automation is what you're trying to say. Am I right?
Yep, essentially.
Okay. So, do you also think? I mean, say this is completely out of subject. Do you also think that we always have a discussion. I always have a discussion with Kevin as well, and other guests as well. So as a person who has been to the MIT, and you took the course and everything, do you also think that AI is going to completely uh, eliminate uh, the front level jobs? That means call center jobs or kind of jobs. Everything will be automated in the coming days. What do you have to say about that?
No, I don't think it's going to eliminate them. I think it offers the potential for uh, a lot of those folks to become, more skilled in, the special knowledge that they have, right? And filling the gaps, like I said, that AI cannot ultimately automate, right? Because like I said, you have a PhD level AI assistant, but there's an asterisk, right? Because it might have missed this fundamental course or misunderstood part of the problem, and the human is going to be the one that can detect that and evaluate that. So a lot of the shift there is going to be knowledge workers managing AI and improving those automation pipelines and making sure that they're working all right.
I just add to that I think this also goes back to understanding what the goal of an organization is. So that's a very broad stroke question and answer when we're saying, is AI going to eliminate frontline jobs? What is the goal of your organization? I remember, tell a little story. I haven't told a story today. Let me tell some stories. So I remember in an organization Darren and I were involved in, going out to meet with a business in California, we were providing services for them, and went out and met with their CEO and CFO and I don't know, their whole C-suite, I guess, to talk about how we were doing. And their CEO, this was we were providing service contracts for them. And their CEO said, well, why are we not taking care of these certain situations? He was very upset about it. And I said, well, you guys elected not to pay for those things. That was a choice. I said, we don't care, right? This is a different business. We don't care. You're good. We'll take care of whatever. And he was sort of taken aback because what had happened with this particular organization is they had decided to save some money on one side, which supports the needs of the board of directors and so on, but they had not taken into consideration the overarching goal of meaningful customer experience. And so when it came together, it was one of these. I said, well, listen, you can have whatever customer experience you want as it relates to this particular service contract. No problem at all. But you need to understand what it costs, right? And so they had this moment where they had to really. It was an epiphanic moment where they had to say, okay, here's what we think our goal is, but here's what our financial goal is, and these things are not the same. So I think it's so critical that an SMB in particular understands what is their goal and be very honest about it. Not the kind of goal that you're sharing outward with your clients. That's marketing. But internally, in the boardroom, what are you trying to get done? What is actually, are you, if it's 100% monetary, what are you willing to give up for that? Are you willing to give up a certain level of customer experience for that, and understanding what the cost is for that, and so on and so forth? So, sorry, I just want to say, I don't think that it's as easy as looking at broad stroke analysis when you can tie it back and say, well, what are you actually trying to achieve? Because AI, if your goal was 100% monetary and short-term monetary, I want to emphasize that too. So let's say you've got private equity backing and you've got 5 year, you're trying to grow as aggressively as you can for 5 years and then sell it and get out, right? Well, your goals are going to look very different in an organization like that, where long-term customer experience or NPS scores, they're not going to matter to you, right? Because you're not looking at building a long-term brand. You're looking at a 5-year turnover. So you may say, yeah, let's automate, let's use AI for that, because those things aren't important to us. We don't care. Now, do I agree with that fundamentally or ethically? Absolutely not. But that's not. But I'm not here to analyze or speak about what the goals of an organization are. I'm just here to understand what they are so we can help advise the best path to get there. So if you say, look, we simply don't care about the brand after 5 years, then we can look at, well, how do you maximize this? And then you might see AI replacing front end positions, but that's also indicative of what type of a corporate culture you have, I guess.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. When it comes to customer experience, particularly, right? It's AI can help you make a lot of gains there, but again, there's always going to be the percentage. On the one hand, you just really have to ask the question in view of finances of the business and everything else. But what do I want my customer experience to be like? What is the standard that I want to set? How happy do I want customers to be with my service? Actually, and AI can be a huge part of that, because there's a timeliness, there's a level of automation, there's a promptness, there's okay, I can get a quick status or a quick answer to my question, and not have to wait in line for the next agent. There's plenty of opportunity there. But ultimately, the chatbot's going to get stuck in a loop because a customer is going to ask it a question that it, didn't think of, right? Or, in the service contract space that we operated in, 10% of your claims, or, pick a percentage, there's not a clearly defined process path that can be automated, right? And AI can maybe interpret part of that gray area, but it's never going to get the whole thing. And so any customer experience model moving into the future involves both. It involves engagements of people in the organization who know what they're doing with a commitment to customer satisfaction, and also efficient deployment of the AI tools that are available.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that brief answer. As we are running out of time, quickly, question to Kevin. Kevin, the second part of the question, how OpsSherpa is helping businesses implement AI. That was the second part of the question. And also one more question in addition to it. OpsSherpa, not only SMBs, but big organizations, if they get in touch with you, what are your thoughts on that as well? OpsSherpa will help them also, or will they only continue to help SMBs, small, mid-sized businesses?
So I think the reason that I'm gonna kind of take the latter portion of that, because I think we've already addressed the AI piece a little bit here. Well, no, I'll knock it out. The AI piece, how do we implement? We have a Darren. That's all I need to say. We have a Darren. I think one thing that Darren and I have done really well over the years is I sort of speak business and the more capitalist side of it, and Darren is the brains. He's the man behind the curtain. So collectively, how do we introduce? We get a keen understanding of what it is that you're trying to do as an organization, and we make recommendations of what are the best tools for that currently.
Yep.
So that would be all I would really say about that. As far as where was I going? What's the second part? What was the second part of the question? I lost it.
Enterprise businesses.
Enterprise business, yes. So the reason that we sort of painted ourselves in the small to mid-sized business corner, as it were, is that's where you can move the needle the fastest, right? So one, ton of SMBs. I mean, in the U.S. alone, I mean, you're talking tens of thousands of SMBs, and all of them hitting inflection points at any given time. I mean, the need is great. How many of them will actually work with a consultant? You know, that's the that number correlates to how many of them go out of business in 3 to 5 years. But there's a huge need in the space. Darren and I have talked about this quite a few times. You know, would we or do we want to work with enterprise-sized business, large business? We have both had a past in large business, large corporate businesses, international, global businesses, and yeah, absolutely. No, we'd love to. I think the trick with that is we know, we feel confident we probably lose something along the way, because a lot of times when enterprise business introduces a consulting organization, they're really looking to buy the organization and bring them in-house and have them as an element of their existing teams. And while we wouldn't be opposed to that, I'm not sure if that would actually add the same. I'm not sure if we would add the same value in that scenario. It would be a different type of value. Do I think that we could do something amazing in that sense? Absolutely. If there's a large organization that wants to talk about it, we're happy to have a conversation. But I think what would probably make us happiest would be working with a large number of SMBs and you know, something very personal. You know, so do I want to be the guy behind a decision to say, well, gosh, you have an entire department that doesn't make any sense. There's redundancies. Let's make that go away. And here's 16,000 jobs that need to be eliminated. Look, if I'm in that situation, I will still make that call. Don't get me wrong, SHAQ. I mean, I don't like that. But there are definitely scenarios where you have to say, this just doesn't make sense to spend tens of millions of dollars on something that you're not getting value on. Do I want that to be my legacy in the world? No, I don't. I think that if we worked with, I'll make up the number and say 500 SMBs between now and deciding to hang up our hats, I would feel great because we would probably have saved about the same number of jobs just by doing so and seeing businesses really, really, really grow and thrive.
I would
Awesome.
I would just say real quickly, I would reduce that down to alignment and impact.
Yeah.
Right? So the last part of it is impact. The impact you can have on a small to mid-sized business is outsized, whether it's on the business itself, which is kind of the objective, or the individual employees that make up part of that team and that culture. And then alignment is so much harder to achieve the larger an organization than you have, right? Because that takes leadership from the top down, and the bigger the enterprise, the more people we're talking about there have to be aligned in order for this process to work, to follow the roadmap, you know, and to accept whatever advice and assistance we provide.
Yeah. If your key leadership team, you know, your highest level, your C-suite is less than 15 people, and we make meaningful, you know, evidence and data-backed recommendations, we're able to help move the needle in a measurable way.
Yeah.
And so many people win. If your key leadership team is 200 people and run out of 6 different countries, and you're doing this to check a box, the odds are we're going to make a ton of recommendations and write a lot of really pretty reports and so on, but we're not actually going to institute any meaningful change. And like anything, if you want to pay enough money for it, that's fine, I guess. But is that something that's going to make us feel better about our value in the global economy over time? No, it's not. So we do add a ton of value. I strongly encourage any small to mid-sized business, and we're in the United States. We're focused, I guess, on the United States is what we know. But when we talk about the fundamentals of business, if your organization is in Australia or England or an English-speaking country, it doesn't change anything, right? We have the ability to do all this remotely. We want to work with people. We want to provide. We want to talk to people and have an initial assessment. And I want to go back to, it doesn't even cost you anything. We just talk to you to see, is this a comfortable fit? I can tell you about one organization that we spoke with where the owner was so absolutely driven on just making a buck and really not in any way interested in growing or developing or improving the experience for the teams that did the job. And that's something that Darren and I agree. We don't want any part of that. That was a bad fit. So that's another thing that we allow ourselves to be able to say, I'm not saying, do it our way or else. It's not that at all. But, if we are diametrically opposed when it comes to the idea, the concept of growing and developing your internal resources for sustained growth, then I don't think we're actually adding any value, and we certainly don't want to go into a contract with somebody in that scenario. So, for any small, mid-sized business, I think it's silly, really absurd not to reach out and say, hey, let's just talk, because there's no contract. If you want, we'll sign an NDA. That wouldn't be a problem. But we're not going to charge you a dime. We'll spend as much time as we can with you. We'll come back and produce our findings, and from there, we're going to give, as Darren described earlier, and this is actually probably a good time to kind of wrap back to it, the way we like to describe it, going back to the whole concept of the Sherpa, what we provide following this initial free assessment, what we'll provide you with is one of three outcomes, very likely, depending on the scenario. So one would be the map. So this is all in Sherpa terms, okay? So we give you the map. And that would be, we'll give you a detailed, here's where we think you should go, here's what we think you should do, and not just the cursory, here's our analysis, but really like, here's the steps we think you should take over the next, maybe up to 60 months. So here's a 5-year plan, whatever it might be, but here's the map. You're going to do it, we're not going to be involved, here you go. And then stepping up from there to what we consider to be the map plus the gear, which is where we're going to expand on and say we can actually come and help implement certain aspects of the tooling required to help get you there, right? So that one's a little more complicated to kind of go into the nuts and bolts right now, but it might be, actually working with you on an AI implementation or a systems integration, or a deeper dive analysis and review of your data platform and your long-term goals, and all sorts of things, yeah. Right? And then the third level, which is the one that, or just depends on your scenario. I don't want to say one's right or wrong. The third level would be the guide. And that's where we actually step in in fractional roles, most likely. So fractional COO, fractional CTO, we can provide cybersecurity support, we can provide sales and marketing fractional aspect, we can provide all the tools where we actually come in and say, we will, dedicate, depending on what makes sense for the business, maybe you're at a business, you're at an inflection point where all you have is a founder and then some managers, and you really need a chief operating officer, but you can't afford that. Well, fine. Chief operating officer might cost you $250,000, $300,000 a year, but a fractional COO might cost you $60,000, $70,000 a year, right? And you get X number of hours a month or a quarter to guide, kind of put everything on, and then you have the ability to expand on that and so on and so forth. So that's the guide model. So we have a map plus the gear, and then the full Sherpa guide. And so we did these to create the idea of what does the Sherpa experience look like. Yeah. But all of it starts with let's just have a conversation.
Yeah.
And let's meet with your team, let's talk, and that costs you nothing. So silly not to engage on that one. So anyway, I'll stop rambling now.
No, that was great. A great summary of what we're trying to do.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that brief explanation of the company's objective, mission, and working, how you work and where you work. And also, as always, I want to thank you from my heart for people first leadership. At this point in time, at this very hour, many things are happening. Would not be able to discuss anything because of many reasons, political reasons and things like that. But many layoffs are happening. I mean, say with AI coming into full force, like Amazon and many other companies are laying off people. But people first leadership always win, according to me. And that is the message SHAQ Podcast has for everyone. But thank you so much for explaining each and everything in detail about OpsSherpa. As we are running out of time, I just want to say to all the audience who are going to look at it while it is available as recording, or who are looking at it live right now, if you've got any questions, you want to understand, you want to have a brief discussion with these two gentlemen, Darren and Kevin, they're always, they are available at the very first opportunity. Whenever you text them, they are going to text you back. On LinkedIn is the best channel to get in touch with them. I have had the opportunity to speak and have conversations with Kevin, and he's very generous when explaining things. He's got a vast knowledge, that is for sure. And
hey, Jack, just slip in real quick. If anybody looking at this, one of the things that we have, I mentioned it at the very beginning of the podcast, but if anybody is in an SMB and is interested in seeing what the initial consultation, right, that first conversation and what they would get out of it for nothing at all, we have a redacted version of one that if you reach out to myself or to Darren through LinkedIn, send a message, we'll send you the redacted version of that where you can actually just see what it is, what the copy is, and we'll send it to you. I've got a copy right here where we'll send you a PDF of this. You can look it over and get a sense of does that help out, does that add value, and so on and so forth. Additionally, I'd be remiss not to say in February, but we're in February, but hopefully starting next week, we think, Darren and I are going to start sharing content on LinkedIn through the OpsSherpa page. We're sitting in a room in my house. We're going to be sitting here, and we're calling it Whiskey and Wit, where we're going to have a different flavor of whiskey and talk about something to do with SMBs, growth, development, all the things we've talked about today. So we're gonna sit back in this room and various places in this room. We're going to try out a whiskey, and we're gonna have a conversation, and then we're gonna share that on the OpsSherpa channel. So that has we're gonna hopefully start that next week and start sharing that once a week. Just to have an excuse to do it, really. But I thought I'd announce that here. We haven't told anybody else that yet. So why not announce that on the SHAQ podcast where all good things happen? So that's it.
Well, I, I really does not want to let you guys go, but the time is off 60 minutes. We have completed only two questions, Kevin. This is a vast subject, as I've already, uh, informed you. The third question, which I had for you, was based on. Um, Let me check. Third question is SMB pain points. But
That's a big
time
one.
does not. That's a big one. That's a very big one.
That-
But
that's
I
so
want. So I yeah. Please go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I'm looking at Darren, and we're having a unspoken conversation here. I think both of us, if you'd like, Shaq, I think both of us would be willing to come join you again at any point and continue this.
Sure. We need to continue this because this is the need of the hour. To all my audience, I promise that I'm going to bring more conversations with OpsSherpa, with the team, the leadership team of OpsSherpa, and we are going to discuss more things which SMBs are missing out and more strategies through which they can improve very much. And I'm going to keep speaking to Kevin. I am going to keep speaking to the team Ops Sherpa. I will. I had the pleasure of meeting Mr. Darren for the first time. I liked his knowledge very much, so I'll be speaking to him as well as a team Ops Sherpa. And yeah, I'm not sure. Kevin, this month is possible. We are going to discuss it offline. Well, anyways,
But yes.
anyways, okay. Well, that's great. I got my yes again. That I'm going to discuss with Kevin and team Ops Sherpa, Kevin and Darren, the leadership team. I'm going to request them for one more session because only two questions we were able to complete now. Anybody who's looking to get a blueprint from Kevin or Darren, reach out to them through their official website, LinkedIn channels, their DMs. They're available through email as well. I'm going to put all the material in the comments for you to get in touch with them. The website, Darren or Kevin, do you want to spell it out? www.opssherpa.net.
Yep. OpsSherpa.net. OpsSHERPA.net.
Awesome. So that is the website. Go ahead and check that out. And also check out the LinkedIn page, Ops Sherpa. So, I have now closing statements from me. I really hate to do it, but Kevin and Darren, thank you for your clarity, your discipline, and your leadership. To everyone watching, if today's conversation gave you language for a problem you've been feeling but couldn't name, this is your sign. At SHAQ Podcast, our mission is simple: to bring authentic leaders in extraordinary companies to the stage so you can build with confidence, not confusion. Thank you for joining us live. Stay intentional, stay clear, and we'll see you in the next episode. Until then, goodbye.